This is Longview Leaders. My name is Sean Hookirk. For those of you that don't have any context on me, I run a web design company in Longview called Gradical Design, helping businesses achieve their goals online. And the goal of this podcast is to interview leaders in our local community, specifically Longview, Kelso, Cowlitz County. There's so many leaders here doing great things. I want to have in-depth conversations and share those conversations with you to inspire you to become a better leader. In this first episode, I interview an awesome guy, Tony Spencer, who runs Spencer's Trucking over in Kelso. And if you want to learn more about Spencer's Trucking, you can go to spencerstrucking.com. Otherwise, go ahead and grab some coffee, sit back, and enjoy. So tell me a little bit about your story. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? How long you lived in Longview, Kelso?
So I've lived here all my life, so 49 years. I first grew up, my dad had a body shop in Kelso, and I grew up next to that until kindergarten in Kelso, and then moved over to Columbia Heights in Longview, and started going to school there, and I ended up graduating from Mark Morris, and that's pretty exciting. That's it. Then,
okay, tell me a little bit about what you do for a living. I mean, I know, but
So we have a family business. We own Spencer's Trucking and Excavating, and I've been running that for my family since 1999. Before that, I worked. Of course, in high school, I worked at a small little burger place in town, and then got married way too young, and then went over and worked for Manchester Brothers, and enjoyed doing that for years. I ran their sporting goods and sold appliances, and when I had my daughter, I needed a little extra income, so worked one day a week for my folks doing book work for them, and they had the body shop and the trucking and excavating, and my dad for years kept asking me to come work full time, and I kept saying no. I didn't want people to think I got a job given to me. So I did it one day a week, and then my dad kept pushing and pushing, and finally in 99, they talked me into it. My two older brothers work for the family, and I always saw more issues with my two older brothers. They started right out of high school, so they never worked anywhere else, and I didn't want to have a conflict with my folks or my brothers, so it ended up being a great thing that I worked somewhere else first, so I knew how the job life worked, and it just ended up being a great deal.
And I know your son works somewhere else too. Is that kind of a similar theme here? Like, hey, when are you going to work for me?
It's funny. I've asked him to work for me for years, and I think he's very similar to me in that aspect. I think he doesn't want people to think the job is given to him, but he's not a kid anymore. He's 25. He's almost 26, and he's doing great at what he's doing. And I've always got an open door for him if he ever wants to come work here. But right now, he's very happy what he does, so I don't want to push him in any direction.
Right. Yeah. I want to compliment you on, he seems like a fine young man, and it seemed like you did a really, really good job raising him when I met him.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I got three kids. Two are biologically mine, and one is a stepdaughter, and I've got three great kids.
That's cool. Yeah. As you know, I've got two young kids too, and man, yeah, it'd be nice if my son turned out like your son when he grows up, but it's a gamble. We'll see. We're doing our best.
Well, you're doing a good job. You're, from what I know about you, you're a great role model for your son, and I've got nothing bad to say about you. So, you've been great since what I've known you.
Thanks, Tony. So maybe I could expand on your younger life, because what I want is, I'm hoping that younger people are going to listen to this podcast and kind of see, because a thing that I've noticed is, especially people when they're younger, they don't know what's possible, what they can do, especially if they don't know anybody that's owned a business, even somebody maybe not in a leadership position like you. And so what were you doing in your teens and 20s? What type of person were you? Maybe your influences. I know your parents were in business, but maybe you could expand a little bit on that. Maybe something you learned when you were younger, or maybe something that kind of guided you to turn into the person you are today.
My dad is, I used to call him when I was a kid a workaholic, and I could never understand it. Now, after, being in business this long, I totally understand it. there's good and bad on a business. The great part, you have a lot of self accomplishments. You see things grow. You learn tremendously on that. The bad part is the place doesn't run without you being here, or if it does, you're always worried that someone's not going to do something correctly, and you want to make sure it's done properly. Luckily, I've got a really good crew here and trained them real well, and they're. I couldn't do my job without them. So, being around having the right people work with you, and just being on the same page is a tremendous thing. The hard part is, when I was a kid, I did understand part of my dad had to work. Didn't, to a point, kids don't understand why your dad has to be gone all the time. So I never did any sports, just for the reason I knew it would be hard on my dad to go and come and go to sporting events, things like that. For my kids, they didn't really have a huge interest in doing that kind of stuff, but I always give them the option of, hey, if you want to do this, we're going to do it. And I try to make as much possible time as I could for my kids. Things that my dad possibly couldn't do because he was just a one-man show at the time. Luckily, I've got some people to give me a little bit of a hand on that when I was raising my kids. So you definitely learn from your folks, and I definitely learn from my work ethic from my dad. So he's been a great role model for me on that part.
Do you know, like when your dad started the business, did he have a lot of support from family or friends, or do you know anything about that? Like, did they?
I do know about it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. So this is an interesting story. So my folks came from Cedar Woolley, which is about 4 to 4.5 hour drive from here up north. It's almost on the Canada border. My parents got married extremely young, and they're still married. I think my dad, he might have been 18. My mom was 17 when they got married. Gosh, and they actually had to go to Idaho to get married because you couldn't get married at 17, and back then in Idaho you could. So my dad moved down here, and he did wherever he could. They had young kids. My 2 older brothers. I have 3 older brothers, but I heard my 2 oldest brothers moved down here, and I believe my closest brother at my age, he was also born like in the Seattle area, and then they moved this way. He went to work for Weyerhaeuser, and he worked in the logging industry. And then I think it was 1968, my dad started, he bought some property next to his house on Sail Barn Road. And before then, he had a little garage shop behind his place, and he started doing body work on the side. And then he had so many people come into it, he decided he was going to start doing that full time. So he didn't have any family down here whatsoever, but this was the area that had work. So that's why he ended up coming to this area. So we actually have no relatives here except for my brothers. All of our extended family is still up in Cedar Woolley or Mount Vernon area.
Oh.
So he's definitely a self-made man, my dad. And very interesting, my dad is always, he's 75 now. One of his biggest regrets, always heard it growing up, was that he never graduated high school and always wanted his diploma. So I was very impressed with his education and how far he ended up going.
Gosh. Yeah, that's always something that, when I was growing up, my parents made it, you're going to college no matter what. But the more I've seen of the world and the more I've grown, it's like, there's definitely a lot of different avenues, and it's, memorizing answers for a test doesn't mean that you can make, and it's not going to work well for everybody. Everybody learns differently.
I 100% agree with that. My daughter is still in college. She's going to be 28 this year. She's on her master's degree, and she's doing fantastic. She's working for OHSU now, and got her getting her close to getting her doctorate. But she has got so much debt from this, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's horrifying to think how much money it's going to cost to pay all this back. Where we did last week the Extreme Machines. We do it every year for Cowlitz County, and the idea of that is to show kids that there's other avenues where you can get a job, still make a good living without going in massive debt. And part of the thing out there right now, I've noticed with people, they think they have to go right to college and get a computer degree, which is great. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but there's a lot of blue collar worker jobs that aren't there anymore because people just don't get out and get their hands dirty, which is good for my industry. We keep our guys really busy, but it also makes it hard because there's fewer and fewer people going into our field, and there's a lot of jobs out there where you can make really good money without going in debt.
Right. Yeah, and it might even better match their personality and what they really enjoy, rather than just graduating with a degree and going, oh, this wasn't exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have just, yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting because I had, like I say, I had no desire to go into this type of field. When when I was in high school, I wanted to be an artist, and I thought that would be the fun, cool job. And I still do some art type stuff, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of money in that kind of field. And like I say, I worked at a few different jobs, and but I always stayed for a long time in the jobs I was at. And I actually enjoyed everything I did, and then started finding out about excavation. My dad was in it, and like I say, I think I told you before, he was in a body shop before, and the reason he got out of that industry is back in the 60s and 70s, no one knew what the problem with chemicals were, and he actually lost his taste and his sense of smell for years. And they ended up doing at the time it was a real risky surgery in order to put him back together. And I didn't know it as a kid, but they told me that it may not survive, and that's why he ended up getting this industry, and he ended up really doing well at it. And then at that point, which one thing I do kind of regret not doing is getting my designer's license for septics. The septics is a interesting field. A lot of people don't like working in septic and sewage, but everybody's got a toilet. Everybody has to go. It has to be fixed. So it's an interesting industry, and I thought of many times if I would have got my designer's license, we'd be a one-stop shop. We could design a septic system, we can install a septic system, and not have to go through other people. But luckily, I do know some good designers I really like, and we work well together on that. But like I say, a job that I would never have thought of in a million years, like, I'm going to install septics for people to, sewage down. And it's not for everybody, because we do work in systems that are what they call live, which are replacing an existing septic tank, and you're literally walking around in sewage and crap, which is not for everybody. But I call it the smell of money. So it's got to be fixed. We love to do it, and it's like, so my brothers, when they worked here, they literally retched. They couldn't be around it, and to me, I just have a strong stomach because no big deal. Just put it in and stuff. But like I say, there's lots of jobs out there that you would never suspect where you can do something, and it's definitely interesting, and it's a fun, different way to make a living.
Yeah, it reminds me of a friend that I have that he says, and he's kind of in a business that they do cleaning, and it's kind of a dirtier type business, and he's like, oh sure, there's always an opportunity if where people don't want to do something, if you can do it for them, there's always an opportunity. Absolutely. Especially getting your hands dirty, especially septics. There's not a whole lot of people lining up for that job, I don't think.
There's not a lot of people lining up for it. But like I say, everybody's got a toilet in their house, and it's definitely got to be repaired, and not everybody wants to do that job. But we definitely will fix you up, and we've got it set down to almost a science now, where if someone's septic does go out at their house, they can call me the same day. I'll get out, arrange to get it pumped, get the permits, get a new tank, and usually within 24 hours I can get them back in action. So that's awesome. The hotel room or something, or stay with friends or neighbors. So we try and accommodate people as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and it seems like when it comes to stuff like that, like that's what makes it probably, I mean, you get used to doing it and you probably enjoy it, but the real enjoyment's probably making people happy and helping them when otherwise they'd be in a bad position.
Absolutely.
Hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the hero part, but it's every day is definitely a different thing, and if we can help people, we actually really enjoy that. We do. The other day we worked with Josh with Service Master, and he called me the other day, and a tree fell down in that storm we had, and it fell literally through these people's living room. Luckily they weren't in there at the time, but the branches came in like spears through their living room, and it would have killed somebody. And we got out there the same day, and we sent our crew out and pulled the tree off. And so, like I say, every day is totally different here. We could be taking a tree off a house. We can put a septic in. We could be burying a horse if one dies. We could be doing snow removal. It's the fun part of my job. It's not every day is a different job. Basically, it's not the same thing every day. We've got a variety, so you never get bored. I feel bad for the guys. Like my dad, when he first started, he went to work for Weyerhaeuser. The most monotonous, boring job, just doing the same thing every day. This way, there's nothing the same here. It's different every day, which gives variety and keeps my crew happy, keeps me happy. It's a great way to go.
Yeah, and we've had you guys out at our house before, and your employees do seem pretty happy.
Yeah. That's the main thing. Keeping the employees happy and keeping your customers happy. We want repeat business. It's and if for some reason the customer's not happy, we'll do whatever it takes to make that person happy. We really strive for our reputation. My dad started the excavation in 1984, and I plan on keeping running the business until the day I die. I enjoy it, and I want to keep the name going.
Maybe you could tell me just a little bit about what you guys do. I think we got the septics excavation, but maybe you could give me just a picture of and then also your slogan that you always say at the LATIP meeting.
Yeah, so our LATIP slogan I say is Spencer's Trucking and Excavating, where the rock's always hard and the topsoil is always brown. So they've asked me to say it on the radio, and I won't say it on the radio, but it's we have a variety of stuff. The nice thing about it, our location, we have got tremendous amount of landscape products. We've got topsoils, we've got bark dust, we've got river rock, crushed rock, red rock. I think right now we have 24 different types of products that we can load in your pickup, or we've got 8 dump trucks we can deliver to your place. So we actually have a kind of almost like 4 crews. We have our dump truck crews, which go out, like say they deliver products. They also deliver our equipment. So that's their duties. We've got a pole barn or pole building crew, and I've got 4 people on that crew, and they go out and we'll build you a shop or a garage or a barn. That's their job. And then I've got my excavation crew. I've got 5 guys on that one. They'll go out with our excavators, or we got cat bulldozers. We've got road graders, rollers, so we can do any type of earth movement or land movement you want to do. And we also do retaining walls. Like we mentioned, we do septic systems. We install curtain drains, so if you have a lot of water coming on your home, we can divert that. And we also do septic and sewer installations and house cutouts. So anything. So if people go out and buy a piece of property, usually I'm their first call. I'll come out there and put a driveway in for them, put their utility ditching in for them, cut out for their home site, and then we'll do the backfill. We also do stump and tree removal, stump grinding, any type. And usually what my other quote I'll say, if the money's there, we don't care. It's usually ask me if hey, do you do this? And I'll say, no, we don't do it, or yeah, we'll do it, or I can send you in the right direction, someone that does do it. So nothing really scares us off. If it's a legal thing, we will be glad to do it.
Yeah, that's nice to have someone that you can go to and not have to go to all these separate ones. Like you need the septic worked on. Well, who's going to dig it up? Or it's kind of like getting a plumber. And then they have to you have to get somebody else to expose the wall, and it's kind of nice to have somebody that can handle the majority of the work that you need when it involves all the stuff you guys do.
It's kind of a one-stop shopping here, so we'll try and do as much as possible, and we work with different electrician companies in town and plumbers, and like I say, if we get to a certain point where we can't do anymore, we'll suggest this person for you and take it in there. Then we also do a lot of repairs for existing systems. There's a lot of older homes in the area which use this pipe called Orangeburg, which was put in the 50s and the 60s. And it's a sewer pipe that is actually made of tar paper, and horrible design. It flattens out over time, and your sewage won't go in there. It just backs up in your house, and then they're calling me to replace it. And unfortunately, a lot of that pipe is really deep in the ground. We got to locate it, find the pipe, and replace it. So we've went down as far as 20 feet in the ground to replace that pipe.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a little more difficult than going down a few inches. We've got to go really deep sometimes to find that and repair it. But luckily, like I say, we have a very experienced crew, and we can take care of that kind of problem.
Do you have any, I know you've told me some funny stories. Do you have any favorite customer stories that you want to share? Any projects?
We had seen many crazy things. One of the interesting ones, and it's happened every year, they're somehow back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they put in steel septic tanks, which is a horrible idea because steel rusts out. And every year, someone will be mowing their grass on a riding lawnmower, and they literally drive right into a septic tank, and they're up to their shoulders in it. And I've had that called many times. Oh, and then this is actually an interesting story. So another septic story. My ex-in-laws, my ex-father-in-law was kind of a drinker, and he did some things interesting a few times. And he exposed his septic tank one time, and he forgot to put the lids back on. He just put garbage bags over it. So one of the pumping companies in town, they always call me when they do tanks replaced. They were out there, and they're trying to find it, and leaves went right on top of it, and my ex-father-in-law passed away, so they were just guessing where the tank was. There's usually a map of where everything's located, and they literally walked right into the septic tank. The guy pumping it fell up to his shoulders. Oh, he was mad. He was covered in crap, and so bad about that. Glad it wasn't me. But
yeah,
that is always the fun part of seeing that stuff. So always be careful if you have an older septic tank. Definitely have it checked out before you fall into it.
Yeah, I like that. With Spencer's Trucking in general, where do you guys see yourself 5 to 10 years? Do you have any new things you'd like to accomplish, goals, or?
So, it's been interesting. Like I say, we've been in a few different locations. Originally it started out at the old Earl Body Shop in Cell Barn, and we outgrew that area. And my dad still kept that property for a while. We sold it a few years ago. We bought property on Ostrander, and it was a pretty large parcel of property. I think it was 6 acres, and we ended up buying 2 more, made it 8 acres. But we didn't know when we bought it. It's a floodplain down there. And we ended up flooding 18 times. And the last time we flooded, we had 15 foot of water inside the shop. And at that point, we were like, we've got to move out of there. And we ended up buying the adjoining property that's out of the floodplain right next to I-5, which we were trying to buy for years. And the previous owner just didn't want to sell it. And he thought the county might buy the property for a road, but they didn't. So we finally got the property, and we moved out here, and it's just been the best move we ever did. Great exposure, and we just keep growing and growing. It was, like I say, the best move we ever did. I'm hoping within 5-10 years that we'll keep expanding out here, add some more new equipment, and probably add some more employees. Right now we have 15 employees, but I could see we'll definitely go up to 20 employees within the next 5 years.
That's awesome. And I know you got a busy day, so I don't want to keep you here forever. What's some of your favorite things about Longview or Kelso, Cowlitz County? And then if you could see this community continue to grow and develop in the right direction, what do you think some improvements could be made? What needs to happen? Do you have any thoughts?
So I definitely love the area. I've never moved away from it. My wife, I met her. She was from Vancouver, Portland, and she actually moved up here. And I said, I'm not going to move from the area, and she ended up moving up here with me. And just the reason, we got family up here, and I've got the business. But it's such a great location, Longview and Kelso. You're close to the mountains. You're still close to the beach. You're close to major cities if you need to go to a major city. Seattle, Portland is always fun to visit, but it's always nice to come back home where it's not quite so crazy and busy. And then we have Lake Sacagawea, which I think is an amazing area. I go down there, and I used to run competitively, but I still like to go down there and run a couple times a week. Relatively safe area. I would like to see something done with the homeless, in the area. They that's the bad part is there's no real area for them to go to other than just on the sides, it seems like. And I would sure like to see the government or someone purchase some property and make some low-income homes for them, or possibly even if they had to, like some kind of a camping area instead of having them staying at the parks or on the side of the streets or putting a tent up anywhere. Come up with some kind of idea to really help the homeless and trying to get them back on their feet, and try and get also try and get this drug epidemic out of the area too. And of course, in the United States, just not in our area, it's definitely an epidemic that needs to really be find a way to get a good solution on that.
Right. Yeah. It's horrible to see all that stuff. Like you said, not just here, just it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah. I mean, if you go to the big cities, it's shocking when you see how much it's everywhere. And like I said, I've been to Hawaii last year, and it's rampant over there too. Of course, over there I could see it a little bit more because it's warm all the time. It's not always warm here, and when you get down in the cold weather, it's going to be very difficult for those people to survive. So really hope that's something the government can come up with an idea to really help those people.
Yeah. Are there any organizations you're a part of and then you recommend in Longview? Yeah.
I am, and you are too. LaTIP of Longview. LaTIP is a national organization, and and I've been part of it now. I think it's going on 9 years this year, and it was probably one of our best things we've ever joined before. It's a community of business leaders in the area. We're the only excavator in the group. I know you're the only computer guy for doing websites and things. And I've met so many good people where you can refer them to their business, and they can help you in yours. And it's been a fantastic. I would never quit it. It's helped us tremendously. I've been part of some other organizations, and I've kind of went by the wayside of some of those other ones and just stayed with this one, and it's been fantastic. And I think it's a great way for people to showcase their business and to really get help from other businesses to work together.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. Someone else referred me to it, and I was a little bit skeptical because just like I think a label might be like a networking group or whatever. But man, once I joined and then gotten to meet everybody and make friends, and then it's been awesome. And then also, you don't often get a chance to sit down with other business owners because everybody's just super busy. So it's cool to be able to talk the same language, and it's been a great group too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. It's fantastic to really, and there's so many businesses out there I had no clue about, and just I've definitely tried to go to each one of them and check them out, and a lot would go to multiple times. So I've really been excited about that, and like I say, I would never get away from that group because it's helped us a lot. I've really seen a huge growth ever since we joined it, and I've really add a lot of that to being part of that group. So
if you had to give any advice to someone that was listening that was maybe teenager or 20s, and they're looking to they don't really know what they want to do, or maybe they do have an idea, would you give any advice? Maybe that'd just be advice to yourself when you were that age. What would you say?
It's interesting. My younger self, I was extremely shy, and
that I don't believe it.
Yeah, I was really shy. Like, yeah, in school I was shy. I was the quiet kid. You get out of your comfort area. Take some risks at different things when you're younger. You might be surprised what you're capable of, and some things don't always work. Some things will. It's a gamble, but don't have regrets in life. It's that's my main thing. Try something once. If it doesn't work for you, go on to something else. At least you tried it.
I like that, Tony. That's a good end.
Right.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with me, Tony. And I hate to have you sitting in the desk while it's such a beautiful day and stuff's got to be done. But thank you again for hanging out with me.
Yeah, you bet. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Sean. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
All
Tony.
right. Thanks, bud.